Frightdays. Tonight we are going to be reading a story out of Even More Short and Shivery by another great scary story writer, Robert San Souci. A Night of Terrors. "Are you sure you'll be all right?" Linda asked the young woman sitting against the mounted pillows on the bed. "I'll be fine," Mary Jo said. "I know you don't want to miss Jack's frat party later." She shifted slightly in bed. "I'm going to be so glad to get rid of this flu." "Still seems like a lousy way to spend Christmas," said Linda. "Everyone else is gone, and now I'm leaving you all alone." "I'll only be gone a few hours," answered Mary Jo. She dropped her hand beside the bed. From underneath his favorite hideaway, her dog's muzzle poked out. His pink tongue licked her hand affectionately. "I've got Jeffy to guard me." Linda walked to the window. The big house, which the two of them shared with 4 other college sophomores, was a mile west of the little college town. The nearest house was dark and silent. The Johnsons, retired teachers, had left to visit family in Florida. "I'll heat up something for dinner," said Linda. "Then I'm going to take a hot bath and get ready for tonight." "Thanks," Mary Jo said. As she picked up one of the magazines stacked beside her pillow, she lowered her hand again. Jeffy obligingly licked it. It gave Mary Jo a good feeling to know that the dog would be around when Linda was gone. Mary Jo fell asleep, but she awoke with a start. Someone was knocking loudly on the front door. It was dark outside. She felt feverish, groggy. She looked at the clock. 6:53. Louder knocking. Under the bed, Jeffy growled. More knocking. "Give it a rest," Mary Jo muttered, but her mouth was dry and her voice was papery. She could barely hear herself. "All right already," yelled Linda from her bedroom across the hall. As she passed Mary Jo's door, she said, "Jack told me he'd come by early because of the snow, but he's an hour early." As the pounding started again, Linda shouted, "Wait a minute, I'm coming down." She darted back into her room for her coat and fleece-lined gloves. "Are you sure you're going to be okay?" she asked. Mary Jo nodded. Suddenly, Jeffy shot out from under the bed and charged downstairs, baying like a hound of Baskervilles. "Great," said Linda. "I finally get a decent date and you sick your dog on him." "I'll get Jeffy," said Mary Jo. She started to get up, but her temples and the back of her neck began to throb, and she felt a rush of dizziness and weakness. "I'll handle Jeffy," said Linda. "You stay put. See you in a couple of hours." She followed the dog downstairs, yelling, "Jeffy, you scare me off my date and you're toast!" At the front door, Jeffy was barking so loudly Mary Jo could no longer hear Linda, who must have opened the door. Mary Jo seemed to hear Jack's deep voice shouting too. Jeffy went crazy, but the dog had never liked Jack. Her head aching enough to split, Mary Jo sank back into the pillows. She was sure that Linda would be on her case about Jeffy. Feeling as rotten as she did, Mary Jo dreaded the idea of a confrontation. The commotion downstairs stopped as though it sliced off. "Thank you all very much," she whispered. The front door slammed. "Bye, kids. Have fun," she murmured. "I won't wait up." She started to shiver. Feeling as though it was a monumental effort, she reached out and snapped off the bedside lamp. Then she burrowed as deep into the bedclothes as she could. But she still felt chilled and more tired than ever. Vaguely, she wondered, where's Jeffy? She hoped he wasn't making a mess. "I'll sort everything out later," she promised herself as she drifted off to sleep. In her feverish sleep, Mary Jo sensed, more than heard, Jeffy come into the room. He was panting. She dreaded to think what he'd been up to, probably running up and down, jumping on the furniture. "Under the bed, Jeffy," she commanded. "Be good and give me a kiss," she said, reaching down to him. He obediently licked her hand. "Good boy," she said as she drifted back to sleep. The phone on the nightstand woke her. Jack pounding on the door, barking Jeffy, yelling Linda, ringing the phone. To a sick, exhausted Mary Jo, it seemed like a conspiracy to make noise and wake her up. "Go away," she ordered the phone as it jangled. She hated the sound of the phone's bell in this rented house. She hated whoever was calling. She wanted only silence and sleep. Maybe she would curl up with Jeffy under the bed and wish the whole world away. The phone continued to ring. Exasperated, she plucked the receiver from its cradle, dragged it under the covers, and asked, "Who is it?" "Linda?" a man's voice asked. She knew the voice. Almost. "I'm Mary Jo. Linda's gone." "Gone? Gone where?" The voice was upset. "It's Jack." "Mary Jo, you sound funny. What's going on?" "I'm sick. I've got the campus crud," she said. "But Linda went with you. What time is it?" "After 9, he said. I hit a patch of black ice and spun into a ditch on my way there. I finally got a tow, but now I can't get there because of the roadblocks." What roadblocks? You're not making any sense, Jack. The police have run off the area, Jack said in a rush. There was a jailbreak earlier today. 3 criminally insane lifers got out. A car they stole was found around here, so the police are combing the area. I can't get through. Where's Linda? Did she get tired of waiting for me and drive herself in? Nothing seemed to make sense to Mary Jo. I heard her go out, she said. I heard you. I thought I heard you. I'm sure it was a man's voice downstairs. Jeffy was barking a lot. Something's wrong, Jack said. The fear in his voice chilled Mary Jo more than the flu. Her teeth began to chatter. There was a crash from downstairs. Something heavy and metal went over, and there was the sound of shattering glass. She expected Jeffy to go crazy, but she heard him retreat farther under the bed. What awful thing downstairs unnerved him so? Mary Jo, talk to me! Jack was shouting into the phone. What's going on? There's someone downstairs, she whispered. Call the police. Can you get out of there? He asked. Can you lock yourself in? Those escapees are apparently really whacked out. Help me, Jack, please. I'm scared. She could hear Jack shouting to someone in the background. She caught the words police and emergency. There was another crash downstairs. The noise spilled into the phone from the extension phone below. Someone who had pulled or knocked the downstairs receiver off the hook. A torrent of gasping, gurgling sounds came from the earpiece. Jack heard it too. What's that? Who's on the line? Mary Jo, the police are on the way. Get out! Hide! Now! Then his voice was drowned out by a horrible moaning. Mary Jo slammed down the receiver to shut off the ghastly sound. Realizing that she had just cut herself off from Jack, she picked up the phone. It buzzed, and a recorded voice advised her that the receiver was off the hook. Then the phone gave off a series of shrill electronic pulses. She hung up, afraid that the sound would attract the attention of whoever was downstairs. Dizzy, unsteady, she crossed to the door and peered toward the top of the stairs. She thought she saw a shadow moving. Or was it her fevered imagination? At that moment, the power failed and the hall light went out. As quietly as possible, Mary Jo closed and locked the hall door. The door was sturdy, but she doubted it could hold out long against someone trying to break in. She went to the window, but the sheer drop down to the burlap-covered rose bushes made escape impossible. She looked around for something to use to defend herself. 2 heavy ceramic bookends to throw would be her first line of defense. She also grabbed a metal letter opener. The silence was more frightening than any noise. The room had grown freezing. She retreated to the bed, wrapping the blankets around her. Impulsively, she dropped her hand down. After a moment, Jeffy lifted. Jeffy, her final defense. Or was he too cowed to be any help at all? Minutes passed. Then she heard a scratching and gasping out in the hall. Someone was making his painful way toward her closed door. She pressed her hands to her mouth to bottle up the scream she felt building up inside. Whoever was out there had reached the door, nails scratched on the lower panels. In the distance, she heard the wail of police sirens. More scratching at the door. She reached for Jeffy, felt her hand lift again. Then there was banging on the front door, the sound of splintering wood, heavy footsteps on the stairs, shouts in the hallways. Jack's voice. Without thinking, Mary Jo pulled open the door. Linda was huddled on the hall floor, while Jack and several police officers bent over her. She was badly injured, but still alive. It was Linda, Mary Jo gasped. She was hurt, but I wouldn't let her in. I was afraid. She began to cry. Jack pulled her aside and put his arm around her. Anxious officers questioned her, while others began to search the house and the grounds. An ambulance was on the way. Someone had attacked Linda. He must have fled again into the night, or he might be hiding. Linda was taken downstairs, and Mary Jo followed shakily. The house was filled with bobbing flashlight beams. Every corner was searched. Behind the couch, one of the officers discovered a furry shape matted with blood. They tried to keep her from looking, but Mary Jo looked anyway. Jeffy, she cried. But it can't be him. He's been up in my room all this time, under my bed. So scared he couldn't make a sound. He just kept licking my hand. The officer drew his gun and waved his fellow towards the stairs. Humans can lick too, he said. I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and I will see you next Friday.